whatever. All right. We're live.
Oh, hello. Oh, isn't this the best week, Josh? This week of like, I mean,
It's
I know your life has been
it's a weird one, man.
crazy.
It's a weird one.
I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
Most of our team has time off. We get to have conversations with people that don't have a specific goal in mind. My entire vision of the future changes 3 or 4 times through the course of the week, which is exciting. I read stuff, like long form content, like not a tweet thread. I like read multiple year-end reports. Like,
yeah, like when we checked in yesterday, there's like, I don't know, this list of people you've been trying to catch up with for like months and just haven't been able to, and they were just like all on your calendar this week, which is great.
It's a good week. It's a good week. Let people join in here. I don't know who's on the internet. I feel like we might be solo here today, which feels also kind of special. Like nobody.
No, we got some viewers. We got some Twitter viewers.
We got people hanging out, which we love. Maybe I should give that a retweet. Hello, Cheryl. We have a new VJ today. The Grinch, provocative Grinch here VJing today. How are you doing, Cheryl?
Yo, I don't know if my audio is working, but
you're good.
I just love like a picture you trying to push all the buttons that are needed to make this thing go.
There's so many buttons. I'm good, you know. I'm not dressed up as a Grinch today, so I don't really feel like myself, but I am here cooking, Colorado, enjoying the snow.
Hanging out with the Trumps.
Hanging out with Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, just really hitting
grinding
the town.
on each other. Wait, am I supposed to say that? I mean, that's she's got the moves apparently.
I should pull up the video. I did take a video, and let's see if I can pull it up. Let me send it to you.
I mean, this is what a debut. What a debut. Cheryl joins within a minute. She has a video of Ivanka and Jared Kushner grinding on a dance floor.
Look out,
an all-time entrance.
Hold on, let me tweet it, and then I can pull it up.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Put it on the internet. Alrighty. Well, yeah, we're excited. Love to see. We got some hardcores in the chat. Love it. If folks are, we got it streaming to different places. We're having a good time. But if you're hanging out on Twitter, you're hanging out on YouTube, live.seedclub.xyz is where you can come hang out and join the chat. And yeah, I feel like we're good. Well, I know we're gonna get into some fun stuff today.
All right, here we go.
Oh my goodness. I love you're like, no, I'm just recording this dude right here, not the Trumps in the background. You know,
so
just
incredible.
Trying to solve Middle East peace and on the dance floor.
You would think Jared would be having a slightly better time than it looks like he is, but
no, that's exactly how I would expect him to be at a club. Yeah.
Really iconic stuff. Anyway.
It's iconic. All right.
Incredible.
Okay, let's get into it. Yeah, Cheryl, do you know how to play us in?
Yes. Here we go.
Oh, GM. To those who celebrate Internet Explorers during the holidays, which is, I mean, it's what we're past Christmas, right before New Year's, the glory days of the 1 week in crypto where you maybe feel like you have a minute to catch your breath, even in a bear market, pseudo bull market. Who knows what's going on? How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great. Hanging out at a beautiful cottage, finally getting some snow. So maybe gonna get some skiing in the next few days. So I'm in a good place.
Good. And today we have a very special VJ, Sherry Doogie. Is that how I was supposed to pronounce it? Cheryl Doogie.
It's actually Cher Dougie, but that works too.
No, Doogie just teach me how to Doogie. It's the thing that's in my brain. You shared your dance. This is the only way to go, apparently. So, Pieces is taking some much deserved time off. We love that for him. And we've got a great stand-in who's going to navigate the internet today for us and bring, special video clips to the internet too. So thank you for that, Cheryl.
Yeah, she's a great internet navigator. She's proven that time and time again.
You are.
I don't think, We're not gonna disappoint.
No, it'll be a new flavor though, which I'm excited.
It's gonna be a new flavor.
So.
Yeah, a little more grinchy. A little more grinchy.
Thank you guys.
Well, I mean, it was the internet didn't stop for the holidays. There's still a whole bunch of stuff happening out in crypto land. There's lots to get into.
Should we kick it off?
Yeah, of course. A reminder that all these episodes are mintable on pods.media. You can come and collect them. You should come and collect them. It's kind of fun. We're going to do something with them. We are so close to hitting our LinkedIn target. Apparently, it's very hard to convince crypto people to follow you on LinkedIn without like blatantly bashing people over the head. So we are currently in that process. I
actually got some good engagement on my first post in 8 years on the platform yesterday. Honestly, like the distribution I got was like better than like basically all my tweets. So maybe there's something there.
Nader, who's I think at Avara, was saying that he gets more. He started posting there. He had a tweet out today. He's like, I have 140 followers on Twitter and like less than 10,000 on LinkedIn, and I get significantly more engagement on LinkedIn. So let's see. This is the big growth experiment we're running, trying to get into the depths of corporate America.
Just gotta overcome how bad it feels to be there. But
we can make it feel cool. Maybe
we can make it feel cool. Let's try. All right, let's get into it. So the first topic I had here is the rise and fall of generative art. So I really enjoyed this post. And I think the title is more provocative than it actually is, but really enjoyed this post by Singular, which I think I actually didn't even really look into who they are or what they are, but I think they're maybe a generative art platform on Bitcoin releasing ordinals.
They are.
So I mean, I own a few like random pieces, but have mostly just been like a passive though very interested observer of the movement of long form generative art, and I guess have a pretty limited understanding of just generative art history in general. But I think like even so, it's just like always seemed like just this beautifully native art form of blockchains. Like I think by writing, being able to like write algorithms directly into smart contracts and just like solidifying their provenance, kind of guaranteeing their like eternal reproducibility. The act of minting from like your personal owned wallet just feels like this really like real participation in the creation of the output, which is really cool. And then just I think just seeing how communities naturally form around great collections, as activities like analyzing outputs and exploring rarities and trading for individual preferences, et cetera, just bring people together. Like when I just hear squiggle people talk about all the different types of squiggles, like it's insane, right? And I think we've always just like kind of been long-term fans of art blocks as a business. Like Snowfro built this incredibly strong brand that just garnered deep trust and respect from collectors and artists, and was able to leverage that into really like becoming the like shelling point or attention point for generative art during this bull market. And I was actually looking up when I was preparing for this how much like what they peaked at during the bull market, and they peaked at $600 million in monthly sales, which is just like an absurd number. Like I just couldn't even believe that. So anyways, amazing business. But I think like what this piece really talks through is like, because of like how successful long form generative art became and how much consumer demand there was for it, and how much collector demand there was for it, and how much money was just like pouring into it, it just became like the only way that generative artists, I think, felt like they could release art. And even if their artistic visions, desires, or just like skill set wasn't necessarily well suited for long form generative art, which is like an insanely hard thing to do, right? To be able to like write an algorithm that's like not only amazing art, but also like balance like individual piece uniqueness with like quality consistency and collection cohesiveness and all this stuff that goes into actually creating a great long form generative art collection. So anyways, it just kind of like absorbed like all of generative art. And I think what this piece talks about is kind of how we're finally breaking out of that. There are a lot of artists exploring with like other ways of curation and bringing the community along for the ride. There are new platforms that are coming in to facilitate that. So anyways, just I had kind of not forgotten about generative art, but it was kind of a big focal point for a while. Kind of fell out of vogue, or like the kind of core narratives of crypto during this bear market, and just thought it was a cool thing to just like resurface it. And know you've been kind of an early participant, so I wanted to just kind of check in on like the state of generative art.
Yeah, well, I think I just saw Derek tweet that it's the Squiggle birthday today. I don't know if it's exactly today or not, but
Oh shit!
you know, so 3 years ago, basically started minting out, and I think the origin story of art blocks is just fascinating. But I think the one interesting part is just how long it took for it to mint out, right? Like in 2020, there was just not this. It wasn't really a thing, and I even remember a long big collector who got me into squiggles. Thank you. You know who you are. You know, I had just been minting them consistently over, I think, many months to get there. And so this sort of like new format emerged, and then attention built around it. And then, yeah, I think you sort of started to see these much larger collections emerge. And then the trend very much going into smaller collections as more money moved in. And you ended up with things like Fidenzas and, you know, multi-million-dollar sales on much smaller collections. So it seems like this is, you know, a trend. I mean, you sort of see the early wave of people usually are just imitating what worked before. And I think what this post gets into is it's actually very hard to create the sense of, you know, wonder and uniqueness that you get from something like minting squiggles, where you kind of hit the button and, you know, magic happens and you get this thing that's, you know, completely native on chain, but also, has enough variability in it to be noticeable and at a scale that makes, you know, this sort of tap into the broader, you know, it's the 10,000 piece drop is just really the right thing to launch you know, it would not have worked. I think it was a much smaller collection at the time, but then people come in and just kind of copy that, or at least there's this iteration process that emerges from it. And we've seen it go into smaller and smaller collections. And at the same time, we've seen just a growth in the types of minting platforms that are out there. So where there was, you know, art blocks really, and then maybe a bunch of custom stuff with like what Def Beef was doing, or, you know, some of the other generative artworks, now you have FX Hash, and you have Highlight, and you have, you know, stuff happening on ordinals. So I think it's, just a natural evolution of the space. I think this is the first I've seen sort of generative art on ordinals. I think these sort of new mechanisms and new networks seem to lead to some new interest. So that's kind of cool to see. But even in looking at those, it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of variability. Like it didn't look, you're starting to see the most generative art looking like other generative art. Which I guess is like most content or most creativity, right? You sort of end up with a lot of the stuff that kind of is more mimicking than new, and then a few breakout pieces. But, you know, I think the power of the generative art community is you kind of have these, you know, digital objects without dependencies, and then you have these communities develop around them. And, you know, there's a lot of the prices of these things have held up through the bear market, in large part because there are communities of people who are in there essentially market making these things. And, you know, that's a part of the broader narratives that are being pushed out, etc. So still very bullish on generative art. It's just, you know, there's very few assets that are out there in the digital world that don't depend on the work of others to ultimately really, you know, maintain their value and grow, or their existence. And they kind of, you know, like CryptoPunks, Squiggles, probably a couple others that live there.
What does Derek call that? No external dependencies. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I think it's interesting too, because this is a pattern we see outside of like generative art too, right? Where, you know, something hits during the bull market, it starts working, gets a ton of attention, and like other people have almost like no choice but to just like quickly jump on it to capture that attention and, you know, participate in that narrative before, like, you know, you don't have time to go like heads down and build something new and novel for a year, because, you know, people's heads are going to turn and they'll be looking somewhere else, and, you know, the bull market will be over. So I think it's interesting how we see a lot of this like narrative or like attention consolidation almost during the bull market, and then you know, in times of quiet, which I think we've seen over the last like few years, is like people really having space to like breathe, take a step back, think about what they're building from first principles. And I think like the things we're going to see released in the next year are just going to feel like very different and novel, and we're going to have this kind of wider range of new experiments that probably naturally, like when attention starts coming back, a few will really hit and consolidate, and people will kind of jump on those. But
generative art parties are some of the best parties in crypto, so hard not to be bullish on that alone.
I need to get to a Bright Moments. I've heard great things about some of those.
Coming to an end pretty soon, man. We're getting done with like the first set of shows, I guess. We've got Patagonia coming up. I think that might be the last one, or second to last one. So We got some Inception stuff happening on screen here.
Nice, cool. Cheryl, are you a generative art collector? You have any art blocks bags?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do have some art blocks bags. Sorry, guys, my computer is like 120 degrees about to explode, but
Go out in the snow.
we'll see how long I can last. It will not load new tabs, but you know, I'm here.
All good. We're gonna make it work. Okay, cool. Let's jump onto Twitscriptions, which is just
this
like
feels fresh because I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing until I opened it up this morning. Is it literally launched today or something?
It became real today, I would say. Okay. So it's funny because I found this, I don't know, maybe midweek. I saw people actually, yeah. So let me back up. So for those that I guess that haven't been paying attention, inscriptions are like the things that are powering or the ordinals movement on Bitcoin. And recently, just because of their success there, we've started seeing people experiment with them on other chains as well. And basically, like what they are is, instead of using like smart contracts for the creation, minting, transferring, management of tokens, they use like transaction or like token metadata. And so that's why, Bitcoin, not a smart contract platform, is able to actually, have NFTs for the first time using inscriptions. So people I guess, realize that you could take this same model or concept and apply it to Twitter. So people are now using Twitter as using this inscription model on Twitter to actually like create, mint, and transfer tokens directly on Twitter. So it's of course it's all kind of like, fugazi until there's, an indexer that people are actually coordinating around. But that's the thing that actually got launched this week is someone built an indexer and marketplace where you can actually, coordinate, trade, sell these Twitter inscriptions, these like Twitter native tokens. So basically, like the way you create, mint, transfer token is you tweet this JSON. If you tweet a JSON that creates a token, other people can tweet a JSON to mint that token until the supply cap is reached, and then no more can obviously be minted. Of course, you can tweet it, but it won't get like recognized by the system. And then you can sell and transfer by posting transfer JSONs as well. And Twitscriptions is the site that's kind of indexing all of this and kind of this like consolidation point for all the shit that's happening. But I don't know, man, it's wild.
Is Cheryl doing one right now? Are we deploying a Twitscription?
Okay, so if we're deploying a Twitscription. So if you want to mint this token, go to Twitscriptions. I think you connect your Twitter. You'll be able to just like click mint on it. I think if you search, what did you call it, Cheryl?
Explorers.
So basically, until that mints out, you'll be able to mint as many as you want on Twitter, and then there will be a marketplace for it on Twitscriptions. And I mean, obviously, like the downside of a lot of this stuff on Bitcoin, and of course this, is you don't get the like composability and interoperability that you get by actually having native tokens. But it's still, you can mint, trade, whatever. It's kind of weirdly cool.
Yeah, I mean, inscriptions in my mind are just this like it makes so much sense for me on Bitcoin. It makes zero sense for me on any of these other chains, and yet people are just doing a ton of stuff on it. So there's obviously something there. So definitely a thing I'm paying attention to. But I think the other like trend here that we're seeing is just how, tokens native to communications medium being a big thing. So I know we're going to talk about BonkBot in a little bit, but we're seeing a lot of almost like crypto apps that are leveraging the Twitter social graph and interactivity for stuff. What was the other one that you were tweeting and then deleting this morning? Pixel Pets or something like that? XPet. And so, I think that's like maybe the big trend is we're seeing this quasi-native integration of tokens into these apps that have millions upon millions of daily active users, whether it's Telegram or it's Twitter, and that there's sort of native interactivity that can be built in there that can then sort of reach out and connect with or integrate with a token in some way. It seems very obvious that sort of stuff happening on Farcaster is interesting, right? Because you have like was it spam? I think you're sort of casting and you're it's an open social graph, and so you can actually build pretty interesting things on top of it. But seeing that happen on Twitter is also super interesting. And
I mean, it's like legit. They're like Twitter native tokens, right?
Yeah.
It's super cool. But yeah, I actually very much agree. The logical next step here is for this to be done on Farcaster. Obviously, there's like huge centralization risk by doing it on Twitter, and then on Farcaster, you could also just, if I guess Farscriptions or something take off, like you could pretty easily build a native client that just like treats those as kind of like first party citizens of the client, and you could, I don't know, you could tip with them. They could just be like deeply integrated into the UI, which is cool.
I love having somebody who has control of our Twitter account VJing here.
It's great. Yeah, usually Peace just firing out his own tweets, but we're going corporate here.
So corporate. I love it.
But yeah, so they actually go back to the Twitscription site for a sec. So yeah, they just launched the marketplace this morning, and last I checked, they had like 300 ETH. So yeah, X is like the I guess Genesis token, like the first token this XRC20 Twitscriptions site launched with, and it's done over 300 ETH in volume this morning. So, as crypto does, when something is weird and interesting and novel, it gets swarmed. So we'll see where this goes, but
it's going to be a mess. You're seeing like copycat tokens already. I mean, the number that have launched here this has just exploded this morning since we even started looking at it. So
yeah.
I mean, you just love buttons to click that have tokens on the other end. It's just like,
it's great.
Smoothest brain, and I kind of love it. I mean, I do. The first I saw of this was people handwriting the stuff out on note paper. So I don't know where that fits in, like the sort of origin myth of this product, but that was like the thing that came to my mind when I saw it on the list here today.
Yeah,
I think Shloms was probably doing something. It was probably Shloms. So
I'm sure
doing something. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think I saw that. It may have just been I think was it Poof? I don't know. Someone was handwriting and scripting into paper.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's cool. It's weird. It's worth checking out. I think it just like, I don't know, it reframes some stuff, right? Like it's treating the Twitter feed as a blockchain, which like obviously doesn't make sense, but at the same time, like in this context kind of does and like works, right?
What is a blockchain in 2023? It's just is it a multi-sig? Are we worried about all this sort of stuff being decentralized anymore? I think we should be, but definitely we're seeing people make trade-offs for user experience and or quick gains and fun in and around that. So
yeah. I mean, the beauty of this is you can connect your Twitter account and mint. You don't have to connect your wallet. You don't have to do any of that stuff unless you want to, I guess, buy or sell. So low cost entry.
We shall see.
We shall see. All right. Yeah, Cheryl, we'll check in a bit to see if...
Cheryl, can you move our progress bar forward on the left-hand side there? My OCD's being challenged.
Yes.
Let's see if Explorers is popping off in a bit. Okay, cool. So speaking of popping off...
Oh, Jesus. What a beast.
Let's move to BonkBot. So honestly, I didn't realize that the team behind Bonk was actually building out this like Bonk branded product suite, but they very much are. And so I think right now they have BonkBot, which is a very popular Telegram trading bot, and Bonk Swap, which is a DEX on Solana. Actually have some cool kind of like games and stuff you can play on there too. But BonkBot specifically this week has just been making a ton of headlines as its usage has just kind of gone bananas, I think, on the backs of Bonk's recent success, of course, and kind of like that brand association, just general like renewed interest in Solana and like the meme coin activity there. And I think they're also running this like Bonk Miss campaign that's kind of pushing people to use the bot to earn rewards. But like their numbers are staggering. So they're averaging around $600,000 in daily fee revenue over the past week. It's completely overtaken the bot trading market. Cheryl, if you open the link I dropped in there, I think a couple of days ago it had like 70% of the like total bot trading market. This includes Unibot and kind of the dominant ETH ones, and it looked like in the last few days it was maybe even higher. And then apparently like across their product suite, so this includes BonkSwap and BonkBot, they have like a $200 million revenue run rate. And these are largely like, I assume the products are good, but they're not overly differentiated. Like the differentiation is that is Bonk and the branding and the fact that it's like the team behind that's behind it. And some of their, I think, like look at that, just taking over the bot market. so not only like eating into the existing bot market, but just clearly like expanding the market dramatically. And yeah, I think they have some cool mechanics where I think a portion of their revenue goes to, referrals, a portion goes to buying bonk and burning it, a portion goes to the bonk DAO. So, very much like participating in this ecosystem that they birthed, but pretty cool. And I think Dan Smith, who I think is like a reporter somewhere, described it as like a tech company wrapped in a meme coin, which I think he probably said lightly, but I think should actually be taken pretty seriously. Like it's exactly kind of how you want to be as a token-based project and how you want to be seen. So anyways, there's a lot of interesting shit in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the biggest knock on meme coins is sort of the zero-sum nature of it, right? And people can go back and forth on speculation generally, whatever, but like very few of these things sort of last beyond their initial hype cycle for that reason. There's sort of an ongoing sustainability model built into it. And so I think seeing this, there's sort of two things. One, yeah, go to market with a meme coin. What have we seen with Bonk? We've seen the Solana phone sell out because of the airdrop associated with it. You see Bonkbot taking off, and yeah, they do have a whole suite of other products, which you're right, they just did what already exists, but wrapped it in sort of this meme, and all of a sudden it becomes incredibly compelling to people who believe in the future of that meme. And yes, and then on the back end is like, okay, there is not only sustainability, that is significant revenue coming through, assuming people are going to continue to want to trade meme coins on Solana, and like clearly that's the thing right now. So it sort of shifted this, like in my mind, it was like, what would Dogecoin have looked like if the founder was actually somebody who didn't hate crypto and kind of wanted to build some stuff and had the ability to go do it? And you just see like the markets get so excited when Elon Musk tweets about it, or when they talk about the L2 they're going to go build, but none of that has materialized. It's just pure meme still to this day, and maybe a Lamborghini that has a bunch of Doge all over it at some point. So to me, this puts Bonk in a whole other category of meme token in my mind, and I think is shifted it into like a product or a startup or a thing that could really sustain and grow in value over the time. Like who knows right now where things are. Josh got
I am getting interrupted by a child. Please continue.
Don't talk about Bonk Swap. No. So yeah, this is super fascinating, and I think we've long believed in the core value of tokens being meme value. I think we're seeing most other investors come along with that recently. A lot of tweet threads being written about it. But I think this really demonstrates the value of that, right? If there's deep affinity for a community or for a belief or a meme, and then you're able to actually build, useful things that generate revenue. I mean, that seems like a pretty big unlock. And really, we've probably only seen that happen on L1s, really, right? And or maybe some L2s, and then ENS. I'm sure there's others, but it's definitely not like a huge long list of truly revenue generating, sustainable, memeable, meme capturing or value capturing memes. So go Bonk. I'm stoked. That's super interesting.
No, I mean it's awesome. Really fits into, I think, like our attention network thesis, kind of even with like a bit kind of down the path of why Xerox Designer and others are kind of excited by the idea of like everything apps, right? It's if you can get kind of the meme, the brand, the like participatory ecosystem right, like really the like value additive ways you can kind of like capitalize on it or like have business opportunities kind of within that are countless, really. So yeah, this is cool to see.
Everything apps. We got to get them on. We got to talk about everything else. Maybe in this context, it's super interesting.
Maybe anything apps. Like it could be anything, not everything.
Yeah, I like the attention network. I think it captures that.
I agree.
Better. Yeah. I mean, ideally, you end up with an ecosystem where a bunch of other people are building stuff on top of it as well, which I think is probably what's happening in Bonkland as well. Yeah, you're right. All right, cool. Let's parlay this into memes rule everything around me. Very, very related, but yeah, I think like, the core thing here is that, grassroots culture creation is like really critical to creating the social context that drive this like shared belief and desire to participate in an ecosystem. And that's often like upstream of real kind of bustling developer activity. Right. And I think,
after the impact Bonk has had on the Solana ecosystem, other emerging L1s are starting to realize that, memes are like an absolutely core and critical part of this. So just this week, it was cool to see that Say, I guess is how you say it. They dropped a job posting for a memelord, which is cool. And then also saw that the Avalanche Foundation announced that they're going to start buying up ecosystem meme coins. So I don't know. They both make a ton of sense and interesting in different ways. I think really I'd be surprised if memelords kind of didn't become a more common early hire across the ecosystem. It's funny, actually, Jess, we were talking yesterday and I was
Cheryl's applying for a job here.
I was like, we have a meme, like pieces are meme lord, right? Like we don't call him that, but he very much is. I think, Cheryl's also a pretty good meme lordess. And then I think, two other examples that I just thought of from kind of our recent cohort is Patrick building the world's largest, like his like first two hires were meme lords, like excellent kind of Twitter growth, like culture creation people. And then also just think about Sam from Finney, and like he just naturally plays that role himself as a founder. But it's like it's so important to these projects, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my question in this is like, can you hire a meme lord into a corporate environment and expect that to actually work? Like, my money is probably not. I mean, unless you're reporting directly to the CEO, even that just feels so like,
for sure.
You need kind of weird in my mind. And I guess my question around like, I mean, clearly there are memes that are manufactured by corporate advertising agencies, right? You've sort of seen the trend of fast food companies coming onto Twitter and all that sort of stuff. So, but my gut is that like running at these things directly is probably like the least effective way of actually going to build that type of cultural relevance. And anyways, I think hiring somebody like that makes a ton of sense. I think it's a very difficult hire to get right, a very difficult hire to integrate into a corporate structure in some way. But so I agree that I think, if we look over into the sort of the creator economy, we maybe see this better where, you see the trend of companies really trying to spend a bunch of money to be relevant and be kind of like a creator on YouTube, and then just paling in comparison to the amount of attention that just a very effective, authentic creator who's just in and amongst that sort of ooze that, of creativity is. And so like, what are you seeing now? Those is actually these big creators launching their own brands. And then I think the next phase is really probably bringing these creators in at very senior levels or partnership levels or joint venture levels into things. And so my guess is you'll see more of that type of stuff, really being able to identify talent early, fund them and let them cook really to go create things. So my guess is like, ecosystem funding towards this sort of stuff, probably not community generated, but really like purposely or targeted towards people who are doing interesting things are going to be like the way you actually get this type of activity to happen. Or on the flip side, I think what Avalanche did is absolutely brilliant, right? Like and that's more of like a marketing tactic than anything else. But I think that's probably the way that these brands can really effectively participate. Like clearly of the culture, get it, coming out and saying, hey, we're going to go buy a bunch of these meme coins and have a collection of these things. But it created this entire knock-on effect of different narratives emerging out. I think somebody's talking about calling Avalanche like the Fed, basically coming in and buying up and quantitative tightening or whatever of these assets and a whole bunch of stuff like that. And I think that's like the big lesson I think for any founder coming out of this last month period is like to really, you need to set aside whatever your preconceived notions of these mediums are when you start to see a ton of action happening, and those first movers who are able to really natively play in that emerging space without losing themselves, without losing their brand, but do it in an authentic way, I think are going to capitalize well off of it. And there's going to be so many things that don't work, but definitely, I think this idea of memes being the go-to-market or meme tokens being a go-to-market for products, along with this sort of creating a dynamic where there can be a ton of experimentation where something breaks out from is an absolutely core component of, I think, growth in crypto. And if you think about like, some of the other bigger trends we've talked about in the last little while with sort of like referral rewards and, NFTs minting is sort of and the volume of that being a distribution mechanism to get your propaganda out across networks, showing up on mint.fun or an interface or trading memes on interface. You have this whole new infrastructure that is really growth infrastructure that people, most teams really aren't using effectively right now. And, I think the history of growth marketing is getting into those new mechanisms early is the essential thing. And so, we're very much interested in sort of on-chain distribution, very much interested in meme tokens, very much interested in, creating the cultural milieu that cool things can kind of emerge from. And it's definitely something that if you're building today, you really need to tap into in a big way.
Yeah. Yeah, that comment under this announcement where it's like, so you're just pumping everyone's bags? Like how there's nothing they could do for their ecosystem, right?
I mean, didn't Avalanche just have a huge pump too? Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's been,
the red arrows don't really do anything for me, but
it's been pumping. But yeah, I think I very much agree. I think like the way to go after this is like to create the conditions for like meme activity to emerge, and then if you can like do use your attention, use funding, use whatever to kind of like pour gasoline on that fire. Like you see the best meme coins all just have this like real like natural desire from people to come in and like participate in like the culture making and meme making, because it taps into something that they care about. Like the meme that they're sitting on top of is something that they just like inherently care about. You can't just be some kind of boring bland L1 with no narrative that anyone cares about and hire someone to meme it into relevance. Like that's not going to work.
That's the best head in crypto right there. Like when you see Brian Armstrong's just live, it's incredible. I think Bald was a token. I remember at one point.
Oh yeah.
I think like there's, if you zoom out a little bit, a couple of weeks ago, there's a whole debate around retro PGF and optimism and this sort of like, a novel mechanism for distributing rewards back into the community. And I think like attention and memes and this cultural stuff is actually probably the best fit in my mind for that. Like I think it's you see people trying to do grants or trying to pay people to do stuff like that. But really, if you can be in a position where as things start to bubble up, you can add fire to the attention and make it valuable for people to go do that. Mm-hmm. It seems like a very direct way to do the thing that is absolutely the most valuable thing for these networks, which is capture that attention that, is, I think you said right. It's like really, top of funnel of all the other sort of stuff. Why builders want to build, why investors want to put money in there, why stakers want to stake, yada, yada.
Sins drive innovation. We're going to do a Sins cohort at some point. That'll be a good one.
Whew, I haven't heard that in a little while, but yeah, that's kind of fun.
All right, cool. Let's move on. So yeah, I was, curating topics for this week, and, everyone is doing their 2023 year in reviews or 2024 outlooks. And, I was like, yeah, of course we should do a little bit of reflecting on, what we did in 2023 and, what went well in 2023 and what we're kind of excited by looking forward to 2024 in the context of Seed Club. So yeah, Jess, maybe I'll just like remind us what 2023 was
I have
like.
No idea it's been a blur.
It was actually pretty therapeutic, I guess, writing this out. Cause when you're in I think we're both naturally like this, but when you're in the weeds, like you just never feel like you're doing enough or moving fast enough. And there's just like so much we're always looking forward, right? There's so much we want to go do that we haven't done yet. And that it's hard to like see anything else. But writing this out, I was like, oh shit, like, we had a pretty big year. So yeah, I'll run through it and then kind of throw it to you to reflect on. But yeah, so our year actually kicked off with a team offsite, I guess, in early January, where we really just like collectively came away with deep conviction that like the time was very right for consumer crypto. So like, the infrastructure and tooling was finally good enough. There were plenty of affluent and very online people still here to incubate projects alongside. And it was just obviously going to be the core driver of this next bull market. But I think like at that moment in time, like investors were still just overwhelmingly focused on infrastructure. There was very little appetite to actually, invest in early stage consumer products. And there just weren't really support systems that existed for early stage consumer builders. So we kind of just like came out with the deep intention to change that and just decided to focus entirely focus our year basically on consumer crypto and really just like meme it into existence. And I think, looking at where we are now in kind of the consumer crypto meme cycle and how actively everyone's talking about it, like I think obviously it's not all because of us, but I think, in reflection, I think we played, a meaningful role in bringing it into existence. So, let me just kind of like run through the things we did. So we, dropped a bunch of articles sharing our perspectives on the why and how of consumer crypto. So we wrote about things like, the critical importance of memes, DAOs as a model for the consumerization of everything, the emerging business models of consumer crypto, and a bunch more things. You can find all that in the feed that Cheryl's actually scrolling through now. We then ran SEO6 as, the consumer crypto accelerator, which is awesome. We had over 300 consumer focused applications, ultimately selected 10 projects that we felt were just incredible examples of like what was now possible. Made a ton of really exciting progress with these teams over 3 months. And I think like maybe most excitingly, we had a demo day that thousands of people attended. And I think like really reframed what was possible for a demo day for a lot of people, and just had kind of raving reviews coming out of that. So I think that was just like a really important, I think, proof point for us looking forward. We also, and I largely forgot about this to be honest, but we hosted, our first consumer crypto summit for, founders, investors, believers at FWB Fest, where, hundreds of people came out to, attend talks and discussions that we held and curated. And, I think that was another really important moment where it just proved to everyone how like real this consumer crypto scene was, and how many people actually were here caring about it, thinking about it, even though it, was still largely getting dominated in like the attention sphere by, L1s, L2s, and a lot of the infrastructure narratives. We also launched Test Flight Club, which is a community of early adopters supporting consumer founders with testing insights and feedback. We, curated a really sick group of 100 people that leaned in to play with and discuss over 20 unreleased products, and really look forward to ramp that up. Looking forward to the next year. And then, I think a bunch of other kind of like media content stuff, but we of course started doing this Internet Explorers every Friday. We're running through the most interesting consumer crypto topics. Getting thousands of viewers on each episode, which is awesome. But also, really, I think we're really excited about how we're able to balance that with like the intimacy that we're feeling with the people that are just repeatedly showing up to live.seedclub.xyz.
Thank you for coming here. We love you.
We love you. So I mean, that's a decent amount of stuff we did, right?
Yeah, and I think even there's a whole other side of our organization, Seed Club Ventures, right, which is been running and doing incredible work there. I think it's a $25 million venture fund run by a separate team that has just been very effectively deploying capital and supporting teams over the last 2 years, and didn't really, I think, slow down a little bit, definitely over the last year, but have continued to deploy capital and have brought, I think, really great new exposure to projects, but also some incredible founders into our world as well. And I think like us bringing those two worlds together, and just we had a founders day a couple of weeks ago where we had 60 or so odd founders come together, and there's just nothing like seeing even we're not in person would be way better, but seeing all those squares on the screen and you're like, oh, you are all dope human beings. Just gets me so excited, really. Squares on screens. That's actually like where most of my dopamine seems to come from right now in various forms. It's just squares on screens. But I think like we go right back to the beginning of the year, like FTX, the bear market's heading in, there's a bunch of shifts we made in the team. We had to sort of really slim down quite a bit. And a big part of it was because we sort of realized that the things that we were doing right now were probably not exactly right. And I think that's just like this ongoing thing. I think the closer you are to Seed Club, I just recorded a podcast with Nick Grossman from USV, and he jokes all the time, one of our supporters, about how often Seed Club pivots. I don't think that's maybe visible from the outside, but there's just a lot of like being in the emergence and trying to make sure that we're doing the right things as this playing field continues to change in front of us. And I think the decision to step into consumer crypto was not obvious. I mean, it was very obvious, but it didn't feel quite right. Yeah, and I think that was actually a big learning for me, because
specifically the consumer language, like saying consumer.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw, if you think about the history of Seed Club, it started off with social tokens. Hello, Memecoins. That's where we got our start. It looked very different back then, and then NFTs and into DAOs, and we're really sort of chasing this big question of like, how do we go build these long-term valuable networks that really tap into the social and cultural value that we see as really being the thing that underpins tokens generally. And so we felt that really was like the way of actually describing all of those things together. It was this sort of consumer interest. Geez, it can be a pretty broad category depending on how you define it. I think we define it as like just definitely not DeFi. That's not really where we are experts at. There's some really great firms and accelerators out there that do it. But it felt very like kind of, it's not quite right. But I think that's actually a feeling I'm looking for now when we're trying to actually simplify ideas quite a bit. It kind of needs to feel almost cringe. Because it doesn't feel cringe to me today, but it definitely was a worry I had back in January. But yeah, I think that much simpler meme, if you will, really did capture our core belief, and we were able to sort of just step into it. And I mean, like so many of those waves that we've been riding, it always just blows me away by how real things become so quickly, and how few big movers in the market, actually can really start to shape stuff. But I like to think that we get to drive new things like that. But I think we're just early participants, one of many different groups that start to bring this sort of stuff out. And I remember feeling confident in that direction, walking through East Denver in February, and just seeing this sea of perp exchanges and new decentralized and all this sort of stuff. And then in the conversations with founders being like, we're building, the infrastructure is here, but investors aren't talking to us and aren't interested in it. And there's sort of this flight to safety of infrastructure. And I think one of the things that I feel the most privileged about what we get to go do is that we get to just take really early bets on categories and on people. And, we're structured in a way that we can go do that. It's core to our business, actually. And so I was like, there's Canadian, we're skating where the puck's going to be. Let's go. We got to use a cliche like that, right? So it felt really good. And then, of course, you start to see just the quality of the applicants that have come in through that accelerator application process, and then ultimately teams we get to work with, and the lessons we've learned from it, and really seeing the setup for what I think is going to be a pretty big 2024 in SEO 7, and even just seeing the impact and how the deals that are coming through the venture side and the types of things that people are interested in. And of course, you layer on top of AI and all this sort of stuff. I think there's just so many big waves that are coming together here right now that I'm so glad we made that repositioning. And I think it comes back down to like the core insider belief around Seed Club. I was thinking this weekend of like, why, what is the why behind Seed Club? And I always struggle to put words to these things because I feel like I'm much more intuitive operator than, like I look at Vitalik, I'm like, my God, how do you do that? How do you write so well across so many different things? But he's an alien, so that's maybe the reason why.
Can't compete with that.
Yeah, we definitely, can't compete with that. But really, there was this feeling of like, what happens when you build a network rather than a firm, right? And so we made a whole bunch of decisions early on, being a DAO with tokens, and this looking at this coordination mechanism, and this idea of being able to tap into a global network of incredible people who have been locked out. I remember being early into the social media world, very absurdly early Twitter user. I went to tweetups. People apparently don't remember tweetups. There were tweetups, dude. There were meetups, but of Twitter people. Absurd. Like, it's really weird. But that was kind of like the thing that was happening at the time. And it felt, and of Y Combinator starting and all this sort of stuff. But I'm living in Vancouver. I'm a young guy. I think I'm smart, but probably not smart enough to go and really participate down there, maybe at the time at least, or capable enough. And so this idea of being able to create a almost like a consumer experience where people can come and be a part of this thing, own a part of the meme, contribute to it, be a part of this exciting part of, that we get to do, of supporting founders, being early, exploring. Creating a pathway for that would just be a really exciting thing to do. I think like many things in crypto, the vision is usually comes far earlier than the ability to absolutely execute on it. And I think a lot of the process that we've been through, the things that people don't see are us looking and exploring mechanisms and coordination and the right way to structure these things in a way that actually, oh my God, what's going on here? Okay, to sort of structure things that can turn this into a much bigger thing. So I was described recently like feeling like Seed Club earlier on was just like this kind of messy little bundle of a bunch of inspiration, ideas, and vision. And I think over the last 3 years, we've had the privilege of starting to pull on those threads and seeing where those things work. And so when I look to 2024, I feel a level of clarity around how we can, step back into that original inspiration of how do we really tap into the wider network and do it in a way that is actually quite valuable to the various participants, whether that you're investors in the network or your builders in the network or your explorers who are, I think the unique thing that Seed Club has tapped into from day one. You talk about our demo day. It's not gated for just investors, and why should it be? The idea of like really we want attention and new users and the sense of belonging that comes from seeing stuff early. And there are thousands of people who joined our demo day who, are going to, some of these projects are going to go on and create big waves in the space. And they were there, they collected the NFT, they got to see the thing from day one. And I think that's something I would have absolutely loved to have the privilege of doing back in, the 2008, 9, 10, when I was deeply into this sort of emerging startup culture. And I think about like that on a global scale moving forward, and it just gets me pumped, absolutely pumped. I think the challenge continues to be how do we focus and what is the important stuff? And I think our eyes are always bigger than our stomachs in this. And it's a big lesson that I hope we carry into this year. And I think, Josh, you've been a very good holder of that belief, at least as we try to focus and make trade-offs. And ultimately, one of the things I'm most proud of is there was a lot of things we did that we didn't ultimately launch because we needed to focus on the core things, which was ensuring that our founders were supported and that they were able to be as successful as they possibly can. And I think that's very much the right move. But when I think about the bigger opportunities that exist here, I'm pumped, absolutely pumped.
Yeah, 100%. I think 2023 was really a year where we poked on a lot of edges of, I think, our thinking or the network, or had the the realization that like we needed to step into consumer crypto, right? Put the call out, create a bunch of content, opened up applications, and we were like, okay, let's see what happens, right? Let's see who comes in, and like overwhelming response, right? Like we had way more quality applications than we could accept for like the constraints we were dealing with at the time. So proof points, like, okay, shit, like this is real. We need to figure out how to, level this up and continue doing this better. Then we, held demo day, right? Thousands of people come, just insane response for it. Like created this live event that I think felt unlike anything that a lot of these
the number of other VCs that were in our DMs trying to figure out what we did for that was just made my heart swell.
Right. So it's like, oh shit, like another proof point, right? Like we can go be, we can be an accelerator, we can be a venture fund, but we can also be this kind of more open, participatory, kind of consumer looking brand and experience network. And I think like, there are a few other things that happened over 2023 that like, I think within the last few months have just really helped us crystallize our vision for this thing.
Yeah. I think my takeaway is like, we need to be far more aggressive in our, when we have conviction in those insights. And that's a thing I think about quite a bit. Like the two ongoing thoughts are like, are we thinking big enough and are we moving aggressively enough? And I think my answer there is consistently no. And I think it's not because it's because I think there's just more and more levels to that than I think my understanding of what reality is at a given moment is. So, and that is just like a powerful and exciting set of realizations.
Yeah. It's going to be a big year. It's going to be a big year. I think it's going to be the year where the network vision for Seed Club that, like really like the insight that you started this thing with, and that we've kind of always held true, even though we've, intentionally focused on getting the accelerate, intentionally focused on getting ventures right. Always known that, that this network vision was going to come, and it feels, I think 2024 is the year we see it.
Yeah, it's more clear to me, like that the how is very clear to me right now. it's probably wrong in meaningful ways, but like I see it. I think the other thing that, you know, the most overdue blog post ever is your Attention Network's blog post, Josh. Like it's, I think the boldness with which you continue to bring it up here on Internet Explorers without actually ever defining what the hell it is really quite admirable. I love that about you. But I think like a role that we really are excited to play moving into 2024 is to be much more of a champion of this sort of world, right? I think like I like this idea of us living in between. You know, we're not pure degen, we're not boomer. There's like a middle zone that's interesting there, and you know, there's like an ideology and pragmatism, other circles that kind of exist there, and I think there's, you know, while on crypto Twitter today, you really only see the edges of that. You know, the no coners are the loudest, and the soul meme tokens are the biggest. But really, the most builders live in this middle zone, really trying to make something that can last. You know, hopefully it turns into an institution. I mean, that's what I would love for Seed Club to be, is an institution that outlives me and all of us in some way. And that's really the goal we're pushing towards. And so, yeah, I think like what the hell's my point, Josh? I just got excited about the future here a little bit. So, so I think like that there's missing media in the middle there. I think, right? Like in the Twitter, you have the Twitter landscape, you have like the crypto media landscape, which is more news, and every crypto publication has the same stuff that's on there. But what we see on a daily basis are the people who are in chat here with us, the builders that are working with us. These are incredible people that need more attention on them. We can be in a position to really highlight a lot of that stuff. So we have a bunch of cool things that we're rolling out next year around just some more media initiatives that I think will hopefully allow us to kind of champion that. It feels weird to be like centrist or like championing the middle as like a good go-to-market strategy in any way, but I feel like it's what people are looking for right now. You know, when I talk to the founders that I'm most excited about and the things that they're going to go build, which, you know, we have a whole host of them in our network, which is exceptional. They are squarely in that middle, and I think there's a lot of other people who are inspired by that as well. So stoked to see that emerge. Internet Explorers being one example of that, but have some other plans as well. So gonna be fun.
Let's go. What time is it? Okay.
Do
we have time for a lightning round?
Of course we do. We have to do a lightning round.
Okay, Cheryl, open up the Crypto the Game one, because I was talking to Dylan, and I think what he's building is really cool. I think we're actually going to bring him on in a few weeks, but just wanted to kind of bring this to people's attention, just to follow along. I think they're starting to tease a lot of what they're building, but he told me I could tell people about it. I'm actually just going to open up Telegram because I want to get this right. One sec, where is he?
So Dylan had built something in was it HQ Trivia?
Yeah, so he was early or at HQ Trivia, I think, throughout its existence. So yeah, here's what he told me. So it's an idea he's had since his HQ Trivia days, which is essentially a massive crypto survivor game. Everyone buys in and votes people out until one person wins the pot. And I think what's cool is he's introducing just a bunch of like crypto native mechanics to it. So there's going to be, you know, viral mechanics like immunity for referrals. Everyone's getting like randomly split into tribes, and every day there are immunity challenges. So like arcade games or scavenger hunts or you know, weird things you can go do every day to earn immunity, so you can't actually get voted out. And then whoever's at the top of the leaderboard at the end of the day gets immunity for their tribe. And then anyways, there's like kind of a bunch of community social aspects to it. There's chats for tribes. There's, you know, voting periods each night that they're going to create, you know, media around and kind of aggregate attention around. But I think it's just going to be this weird kind of very fun thing to pay attention to and participate in for however long it exists for. And, you know, just another great example of this kind of ephemeral app category that I just continue to be obsessed with. It's
entertainment generally, right? With crypto on top of it, which I think we saw some early examples of that with, you know, Mad Realities. It felt like they really didn't push into that as hard as they could. I think you're seeing what Brian and Grace and team over at Unlonely are doing with live streaming and prediction markets. Again, it's capturing a moment and it's really the entertainment value around it. Clearly with the sperm game, etc. Like that was a big thing. And so I think, you know, I think it's easy for people to discount these types of things as just being games, but I mean, Chris Dixon's post, I think, is really just the strongest one here too, right? It's what, come for the game, stay for the tool. That's not right, but something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like another
toys. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, or like all big things start off looking like toys, or whatever, right?
Yes.
And like, you can, right. I think like, we talked about Bonkbot earlier, like, memes are a way to capture aggregate attention, but so are just like building experiences like this, right? So who knows what you can eventually leverage this into if you just aggregate a bunch of people who are love Survivor, love crypto, want to fuck around and do weird stuff on the internet. Like there's probably endless opportunities that reveal themselves if you just keep doing a good job at that. So yeah, I think it launches January 22nd. I think we'll probably have him on Internet Explorers the Friday before just to dig a little deeper into it. But yeah, give it a follow, pay attention. I think it'd be cool.
He's going to give us early access through Test Flight Club, I'm sure, right? You forced him to do that. So if you haven't applied for that yet, we're going to start bringing in some new people at the beginning of next year. So you can do that at seedclub.xyz. Love to have you jump into that group. It's wonderful. Cool. We did it. We hit at least one lightning round.
Let's go. All right. Happy New Year, I guess.
Happy New Year. That's soon. That's happening. Brings me one step closer to golf in the desert. I'm so excited. I'm not going to be here next week. You guys get to hang out with Josh and Cheryl and some other random person. We'll figure out who that is. So I'm excited for that. Thank you all for showing up. I love, even with the Consumer Crypto Accelerator, I have this in my mind that as long as 11 people show up, we've been successful. For whatever reason, that's my number. I feel like that is, we continue to always have far more than that, but
yeah, it's an angel number.
That nobody's going to show up. Is it an angel number?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my God. I don't know what that means.
That's why Jacob always mints 11 editions anytime he mints stuff on Zora. Zora's obsessed with angel numbers.
We actually don't want more than 11 viewers.
Yeah, if you could, cut them out. Get them out.
We'll get Hurls to set a hard cap.
We need more than 11 LinkedIn followers, though. So spam your friends. Spam your friends. All right. Reminder: this episode's mintable on pods.media. Thank you to the pods.media team there. Cheryl, thank you for heating up your laptop to almost.
Thank you. I'm really hoping that I get that new job as the memelord. So I'll let you know how my application
Please let us know.
goes.
Give us we need at least 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheryl, you did a great job clicking.
Exceptional
Thank
clicking.
you.
Very active clicker.
Love the chat. If you could just give some love to Cheryl here in the chat, so like we just.
Thank you.
Let's
I have
pump her
ADHD and I didn't have coffee, so.
Whoa. Well, that's a mistake. Let's get a caffeinated Cheryl on the next one. I love it.
Yes.
We're back here every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Josh has got to go and play with some kids, his kids. To be clear.
Get onto the mountain. I think I'm going to see if
I
can.
Ooh, baby, let's do it.
Pretend I'm still working for another couple hours.
Happy New Year, love you, and can't wait to see you in 2024.
Happy New Year.
Nice. I gotta go hop